Are you a caregiver today, or have you been in the past to someone who has dementia or memory loss? If so, you may have dealt with some of the struggles of trying to have communication with them. We know that sometimes it's the most recent memories that are the first to go, and those longer ago memories are the ones most preserved. And we want to try to tap into those memories from some time ago to help us get engaged with a conversation. And if you've been a family member or even a professional caregiver, you may know how difficult it is just to start or launch a conversation with someone who's struggling with memory. Well, I'm Carolyn, and I'm with the Lantern Lifestyle Senior Assisted Living communities just outside Cleveland, Ohio, and we welcome you to this week's edition of Lantern Raise, a weekly program we offer at all of our communities. Today we're going to talk about conversation starter boxes. This is kind of a concept that's evolved over the last few years, and it creates an excellent opportunity for family members, service groups, scouts trying to get a badge, church groups, any kind of folks that want to help launch conversation starter boxes for themselves as family caregivers, for someone they know that they want to support, or to donate to an assisted living community or a daycare such as ours. So I'm going to show you what I've done and give you some ideas on perhaps how you can get started. Right now we're all in the midst of COVID restrictions, so many of us are cocooning, if you will, inside the home. This is the perfect time for us to kind of take a look at it. This is a project we could do with the kids, the grandkids, especially over the holidays. So let's get started. The first thing you need is a shoebox. This is just a regular shoebox. You can also get one of the plastic ones that you can find for $1 at Target or even the dollar store. So what I've done is create some conversation starter boxes that I'm going to share on very common themes, but I've actually purchased some nicer boxes for mine because I use them so frequently. But this is a great starting point for you. So the first one that I started was one on the military. And what I did was just begin to gather some common items. Actually, I found many of mine on eBay because I didn't have folks who had this memorabilia. But in your own home, you might have some of these items familiar to you. It could be a piece of a uniform. This is a hat. This is a military hat. And you may find that there are different sorts of hats, of course, for different branches of the military. You may even have gloves. You may have a braid, something like this that is available to you. I also then had some patches from different branches of the military. Again, you can find these amongst your family members. You may have folks that would donate them to you, and you can even get them at garage sales, church sales, flea markets, that kind of thing. I also then went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans a few years ago, and for my kit, I actually purchased some replica planes. So you can either find something like this. You may even have photos. You might have photos of your loved one who was in the military, maybe in front of a plane, in front of a tank, in uniform, that kind of thing. You might also find that you can get, here I have some other items. I actually have a little tank that I got at the World War II Museum. So some of these could even be toys, so they don't actually have to be replicas from the World War II Museum. I actually also got a G.I. Joe doll, and this is a replica of the uniform that was used in years past. I actually paid a lot of money for this doll, but you might find, again, your kids or grandkids have a G.I. Joe doll. They may have some items, again, that you can find. I also was able to get some items like books. As you may know from World War II, Ernie Pyle was a very famous writer. He was very well known, and he wrote a series of books. Many of our residents are familiar with his books, and they basically are daily articles that he submitted to local newspapers and were printed all across the United States. So this is an excellent book, again, to use as a conversation starter. You may also find then that I was able to get some cards that have pictures of the planes. I have postcards that are from replicas of famous World War II posters, that kind of thing. So look around. You may find within your own home that you have a number of these items. Even if you can just reprint some photographs, put them in a photocopier, copies of photos of maybe some of your loved ones who were in the military, letters from home, replica postcards, those kinds of things. So this one that's on the military was a popular one that I've been able to use with some of the gentlemen through the years. Now, another one that I did is a one that's on wedding theme. So what I did for that one is I started with actually little beaded handbags. So I used handbags that perhaps a bride would carry. Here's another example. And I had these that I picked up just over the years, my own little collection. Here's another one. So these are popular conversation starters with the ladies. Tell me about your wedding day. Did you have a wedding dress? Remember, some of our residents were married during World War II. They may have been married at a Justice of the Peace or had a very small wedding wearing a business suit. That was very common in the 40s. You might ask them to tell you about their dress. If they had one, did they have a veil? I even have a sample veil right here. And sometimes I'll have the ladies try it on. And it's just a way to talk about their veil if they had one, what it was like, so forth and so on. So some of the other items that I added, I took a ring case and I just put in like a cubic zirconia ring to show the ladies, again, this would be like a sample wedding ring or an engagement ring. Tell me about your ring. Tell me about when you got your proposal. Where were you? What was it like? So if you can recall those types of moments, that may be something, again, that's a conversation starter. I even had some old jewelry. This is the set of pearls my father gave us when I was 13. I have that set of pearls. You can easily get costume jewelry that looks real. I even have some older watches, things like that, that might have been, part of that day, if you will. I even have some wedding invitations. These are from weddings that I've attended. You may have wedding invitations that you've come across in the family, duplicate copies, wedding pictures from people that you can include, even if it's just snapshots. I also included a couple of tiaras that I had that could have been part of a bridal veil, if you will. So those are very nice. And then I included some white gloves. Many of the ladies in the communities today wore white gloves when they were younger, and most certainly may have used them on their wedding days. So these are some, again, common items that you may find that are in your own home. They could be in the home of your parents. You might find them at a flea market, in an old trunk. I even included, these nice perfume bottles to just, again, give something that might strike a familiar chord that helps launch a conversation about a topic. So we've seen one for military. We've seen one now for wedding. Well, this is another thing I added. This is the cake topper from my own wedding. So I brought this and used this in my own little kit to talk about the cake and what kind of cake they had. Did they have a topper? Was it the traditional bride and groom? Was it something like this that's just, lovebirds? So a lot of different things that you can use. Well, when it comes to themes, the themes are actually endless. So in the years past, I've created a number of different themes that are easy to do, and I think, again, would be great projects for families at holiday time. One might be baseball. So for a baseball theme box, you could put in a baseball, an old baseball, maybe from your kids or grandkids' Little League. You could put in a baseball cap, maybe a baseball program. You might include bazooka bubblegum, Cracker Jacks. Maybe you have some baseball cards. You might have photographs of some of your kids or grandkids playing baseball. You might have actually had a picture of you at a Major League Baseball park or game. You might have had a bobblehead, a pin, a pennant, any of those kinds of things that typically are not too expensive and things that we may have had, especially if we've been doing a little downsizing ourselves, if we're decluttering, which is kind of the rage right now, or perhaps we're helping an older relative, declutter and downsize. Another theme that's very popular, and I've done a box on this, is baking. So for baking, I used things like these little metal tins. I've used the old-fashioned metal measuring spoons, measuring cups, an old-fashioned egg beater, sifter. I've even had these pot holders like we used to make in the 50s and 60s in school, old recipe cards. I've used some of the old spice containers. And if I use anything like that, I definitely make sure that they've been cleaned and sanitized, and I glue them all shut because I wouldn't want anybody taking the cap off of anything, getting it down their throat or in their mouth or something like that. I've done one on fishing. Here's an example. I found a little fishing rod and I put this in my kit. I added some lures. I added some fishing guides for the local area, a couple of maps. I added some photos of people holding the big fish, if you will. So these are all ways to talk with a gentleman. Have you gone fishing? Especially if we know something about them. Where did they go? What type of fish did they fish for? You can even find a book about fish, a guide like an Audubon type a book that we'd find for birds. There are fishing guides also. I've done a theme box on Vegas where I had chips, a couple of pairs of dice, playing cards with the name of a casino. I've had photographs of the casino. I've done horse racing boxes where I had the programs and tickets that you can, get right there from any horse track. You can find little plastic, horses, all kinds of, photos from the Kentucky Derby, glasses. I mean, got so many things, and many of these things I've actually picked up along the way at garage sales, or once people know I'm collecting that kind of thing, they'll give them to me. They'll make those available to me. So again, the themes are endless. You can think about a theme that was popular or of interest to someone that you were caring for and see if you have any of those items in your own house. Another one I did was for people that like to do woodworking, and this is one of those old cloth measures. I had the kind that fold back and forth. I had a wooden plane, some blueprints of little plans. I had a wooden birdhouse. So again, just let your mind think and try to find 10 items that would go with the theme that you've selected. Get that shoebox, try to get those items together. And if you feel that that's something that you could do as maybe a holiday project with the family, or you have a group of youngsters that are looking for a community service project or a scouting badge, maybe you're in a church group or a service organization, just think of how popular and well accepted these would be if you were able to donate them. You might, again, give them to someone you know who is a caregiver, who's looking for some ways at home to keep that person engaged. Remember, anytime we're having conversation, we're preserving the language skills. And that's something we do a lot here in our Lantern communities. We have many activities all throughout the day, and the purpose of those activities is not just entertainment, if you will, it's education, and it's also engagement, social interaction, language skills, using our hands in the fine motor skills in the same way that we would if we were using a toothbrush or a comb or any of those other types of devices and tools for our daily grooming. And so these are the kinds of things that assist us in so many ways. So give it some thought over the holidays, and if you feel that there's a theme you can tackle, just get started. You'll find that people will be very willing to share items with you, and especially if you can come up with 10 items along a theme, put those in a box, put a little piece of paper in there kind of detailing what your theme is. It's baking, football, baseball, gardening, again, endless, and then take a look at whether or not you can donate that box to someone you know, to an adult daycare, to an assisted living community, and I'm sure they'll be thrilled. We do want to thank you for tuning in to Lantern Raise. As I mentioned, it's a weekly program at all of the Lantern Lifestyle communities in Cleveland. You can find it on our Lantern Lifestyle Facebook page. You can find it on YouTube. And we're very excited about the fact that we're now launching Lantern Raise TV. So take a look at our Lantern Lifestyle webpage, lanternlifestyle.com, and you'll see some direct links that take you to any of these pages. We certainly welcome any topics you would like to have explored. And if you are a professional in the field and think you have something to share with our audience, give us a call at any of the Lantern communities. We'd love to talk to you about being a guest on our program. So thanks for tuning in today. If you did enjoy the program, we hope you'll share it. We hope that you'll like it, you'll make some comments, and until we see you next time, we send you our best for today and always.